Hey everybody, it's Kristin Fuhrmann-Simmons here, and I am live with the amazing MIchelle Burdo. How are you this morning, my friend?
Oh, I just want to give you a big hug up in Maine because you're probably freezing.
I am freezing. I'm actually sitting at my desk right now looking out at the snow, and it's about to get colder, and we have a winter storm warning on the way for us, and they said like 8 to 14 inches, so that feels substantial to me. How are things down in Florida?
Oh, Orlando is sunny and reaching 80 degrees today. So it's and I don't mean that to rub it in at all.
No, it's okay.
That's just the weather in the winter months. That's the reason so many people are moving down to Florida, right?
I got it, right? I mean, it's the trend that's been going for the last century, so I need to hop on board. I am so happy to be talking to you today, and MIchelle and I have actually been friends for almost 3 years now, right? I mean, which is amazing, and we've been friends in a capacity that's a little bit different than a traditional friendship. I would definitely say that we have gotten closer as personal friends over time, but we really started in a business way, right?
Oh gosh, I feel like our story of how we met and started this weekly partnership is just amazing. Can I tell everybody how we met?
Yes, I would love to have you tell that story.
This is my take on it, Kristin. So Kristin was coming down to Momentum Conference in Orlando, and this is 2015 now, right?
Right.
2016.
Yeah.
If you're a Disney fan, you may be familiar with the name Lou Mongello. He has his own podcast, WDW Radio, and he also works with entrepreneurs, and he helps encourage people to live their passion.
Yes.
So I was speaking about my background as a news anchor and starting my own business, and now I train executives on how to prepare for media opportunities, how to prepare for business video, how to prepare for keynote speeches. And I don't know if you know this, I targeted you immediately because I had the privilege of understanding the bios of everybody who was coming to the event. So I knew about you, Kristin, before you knew about me. And I was like, I have to meet this wonderful person.
I love that you said that, because I knew that you had taken the time to learn about every single person in that room. And as a result of that, you were able to, I know that you say you targeted me, but you were able to walk up to every single attendee. There were over 50 attendees, and you knew their background, their business goals, where they were from. And I was like, this woman is amazing. Amazing. So I love that about you. So keep going.
Well, unlike you, some people are probably like, did she stalk me?
No.
How many kids I have. Yeah. No, I think that is so important to learn about as many details as possible about each and every individual person that's in a room when you go to a conference or when you're speaking at the conference, to skip that step almost of the small talk step,
right,
and dive into the real stuff that's going to help you and your business move forward. And that's what we did. I started that conversation with you. I knew that you were a food blogger. I knew that you were a university professor. And I knew that your background was in social media, and you did a lot of writings for articles, which is a part of my world.
Sure.
I was on the TV side, but you were on the print side,
right,
of getting your clients into the media.
Right.
So we immediately connected, and it's just coincidence that we both have natural red hair.
I know, and it's even better. I love it. I know we're a select group. I love it. It made me really happy.
What is it? 3% of the population. Anyway, neither here nor there, although it is good marketing for us.
For sure.
After that conference and after our initial conversation, I literally walked up to Kristin. I'm sure she remembers this as clear as day.
Well,
I grabbed her hand and I said, we are going to be fast friends. Can I call you every week to connect?
Yes. And I love that. It's funny that you mentioned that, MIchelle, because at that time in my life, I had made that leap into running my own business. It was for real. And it was one of those moments where it was all me at that time. And I did not yet have that network of support around me in that entrepreneurial lifestyle to really help support me. And it was the thing that I didn't even know that I needed at the time. And I just had that feeling to say, yes, felt good about it, felt that connection immediately. And you had mentioned a point a little bit earlier, like we skipped the niceties and we dug right into the heart of the matter. And I feel like in many ways our relationship did that too, where we didn't necessarily skip the connection part because we were able to connect on the things that really mattered to us at that time. And a big part of that was business and our identity and that growth that we were both having as small business owners. And we took ourselves seriously enough to really say, look, we need help. We need that connection. And these are the kinds of things that we want to talk about. These are the things that are meaningful. And we needed an outlet to do that. And I was so thrilled that you said that to me. I was like, yes, this is exactly what I need.
And I think that there was a spark, right? It's almost like you're trying to date and find somebody in the business world that you could really connect with and be honest and vulnerable. I don't even know if I've ever told you this before as we talk about accountability a little bit more in depth.
Yeah.
As a news journalist and as an anchor, you are expected to know everything about a topic going into your story for that day. You are expected to be the expert. And I think for me, as I transitioned from the journalism world into the small business world, I had a really huge block of feeling as if I needed to know everything about business. And in turn,
you're speaking the truth to me because we want to feel competent. We're bringing, absolutely.
But I was afraid to be vulnerable with people and to really tell people how it was really going.
Right.
Because I was expected, because of my background, to know everything already. So to find that safe space, to find somebody who I could lean on and not be judged, was career altering. The trajectory for the business totally changed from that point on.
Agreed. And I think that you mentioned a really good point, is that many of us tend to choose entrepreneurship after we've had some other level of professional work. There are people who become entrepreneurs at a younger age, and not that we're that old, but many of us have entered into this lifestyle after having some level of mastery and competence. And I thrived on that, right? And I know that you did too. And it's stepping into that unknown. And when people are around you, and asking you questions, how's it going? The tendency is to want to say, it's going great. I'm thriving. I'm perfect. And that's wonderful, except for the fact that we're in a lot of areas of unknown. We're in areas of uncertainty. We can have a lot of fear, and having other people to connect with, especially someone where that is your laser focus every single week, can be hugely beneficial to help buttress you, especially in those first sort of launch times of your business. And I've found that our focus has shifted from that initial time that we started to talk to now, where we have our business underway. We have different goals. We're coming up against different challenges. And I think that mentorship, that one-on-one mentorship, becomes valuable in new and different ways. So anyway, jumping back to where we started, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but when we started, Michelle, do you remember we kind of set up some boundaries for the call? We talked about how we would split that call. Do you want to share a little bit about what we did?
Sure. So we always laid out an hour of our day together.
Yeah.
And we did half hour you, half hour me, and we would do a deep dive for those 30 minutes.
Right.
And it helped us structure our conversation to get results.
Right.
And at the end of the half hour, we would always say, so what is your homework for next week? What is my homework on behalf of you?
Right.
So we weren't just saying, okay, so for next week, you have to do step 1, step 2, step 3. But we were also in that same breath saying, it's my homework too, to hold you accountable for step 1, step 2, step 3.
Right. And that was really powerful for me because I did not have anyone else in my life who was doing that. And as organized as I know that I am, I needed that other person, you, to be able to help me hold myself accountable for some of the things that I was going through. So it could be anything from concrete goals that we had, like this next week, I need to make sure that I'm sending out 4 pitches to new clients, but also more, I want to say esoteric goals where we're working on things like mindset, where we're working on things like our professional development. So we really had a good balance of the concrete things as well as some of those things that had more to do with where we were going in terms of our professional development. And I really appreciated that we were able to really straddle both of those spheres when we jumped right into those calls, and that became really valuable for me.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if you know this, but you were the first person that I told everything to.
Right.
Right? So what's the everything? I always find it so interesting when people say my professional life is XYZ and my personal life is XYZ, because you only live one life.
Right.
You have a professional and personal life. It's called your life. Right. And it would be a disservice to both of us to work in these silos of just talking about what we're doing to further our business, because a part of furthering our business is also learning how to juggle our personal life too. Absolutely. In conjunction with the business. And I think that's an important fact that some women especially have a hard time grasping, at least that's my experience, because again, you're expected to walk a certain walk.
Right.
And I think that we hurt each other by not being more open with the fact that we're trying to do everything.
Right. And I love that you brought that up, because I was craving the ability to talk about my business and professional goals because they felt so personal. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I was not yet, this is a couple of years ago, but I didn't yet have those relationships where I could bring those different pieces of my life together and really share that whole part of me. Because what I do in business is personal. It is something that is fulfilling. It's something that I think about in terms of my legacy and what I want to create in terms of my financial stability. All of these things are part of that whole. And rather than separating them out into, well, I can only talk about business with my business friends, and then when I go out to girls' nights out or a book club or things like that, I can only talk about those things. This relationship became one that I was able to talk about my whole self and my whole professional growth. And when I say professional growth, I mean the things that power me, that are my passion, because that's why we've chosen entrepreneurship, right? We've chosen it because we want to marry our professional skill set with the things that drive us so that we can create that better balanced life. And that's a huge thing to undertake, especially, when we do have kids and we are trying to find balance and we have our partnerships, and being able to have that person with whom you can connect on that level and have that accountability. And you mentioned something that's really important too. We set forth a goal really that this was a no judgment zone in terms of our capability. When I say judgment, you did have some times where you pushed back pretty hard, but I didn't feel like it was judgment. It felt more like, Kristin, you need to take a look at this in a more concrete way. And let me give you an example. I don't know if you wanted to add anything there, because I feel like I just spilled a whole lot out.
In my mind, I was like, I'm curious as to what example this is going to be.
So I was sitting at my computer and I was talking to you on the phone, and I was feeling like, I have all of these different clients, and I said to you, I feel like I'm plugging a dam, right? I'm taking on small jobs. I'm doing all of these different things. For example, I was volunteering with a local charity. I was doing some copywriting. I was writing articles for a local magazine, and I was managing different social media accounts. And I just said to you, I was like, I just need to get more. And you said, Kristin, more is not going to satisfy you. If the things that you're doing in your life are not directed towards your financial goals, they need to go away. And I realized that I was filling my time with a lot of busy work in the hopes that those things would eventually become business opportunities. Going to networking groups, going to charity events, volunteering to do work for local nonprofits. I was hoping that these things would turn into money and a financial revenue stream, and they weren't. And you said to me, Kristin, if everything that you're doing is not focused towards your financial goals, you are not going to get there. And you said to me, Kristin, you need to put your monthly financial goal on top of your computer. And you need to ask yourself every time you sit down at that computer, is what you're doing getting you towards that goal? And I had that moment where I was like, oh crud, like, no. And I took some time after talking to you, and I realized that about 27 hours of my work week, I actually calculated it, were going towards volunteer activities. 27 hours. That's more than a part-time job. And that's a tremendous amount of time, especially in the life of an entrepreneur, right? And I realized that 27 hours of my work week were going towards things that weren't helping me get towards my financial goal. And as a result of that, I wasn't making the money that I wanted to be making. And once I took a sticky note, stuck it right on top of my computer, and I put the number 10,000 because that's at the time what I wanted to hit in terms of my monthly revenue. And your straight talk to me was really like, Kristin, you don't need to be plugging holes with all this stuff anymore. And I didn't have anyone else in my life saying that to me. Everyone else was like, isn't it so great that you're giving of your time and you're so helpful and it's wonderful and you do so much? And you're like, stop.
I was the antithesis of that.
Yeah, you're like, you don't need any more love and praise from all of these people to try to keep you going. Girl, you need to make money. Like, that was it. You need to make money, and you need to be solidly focused on revenue generating activity. And it was so helpful for me to have you, again, coming back around to the idea of judgment. You were able to say in a really loving and firm way, stop what you're doing, because you're telling me one thing and then you're doing something else. And those things are not coming together. And I really appreciated that, because you also said in a way like where I could hear it. It wasn't something where you were coming down on me or saying, you always do this and you're not doing it. That wasn't it. It was like, Kristin, here are the goals you've shared. Here's what you're doing. They're not marrying. Take a look for yourself. And I really appreciated that level of maturity in our relationship. Because it just pushed me forward in a way. And when you talk about things that have propelled you, that alone has propelled me more than anything else.
I think that the camaraderie that you have with an accountability partner is something that is understated in the entrepreneurial world. So for me, one of the biggest things about having you as an accountability partner is, of course, week-to-week, the movement of furthering the list, right? Yes, the infamous to-do list. That's a no-brainer. You could hire a business coach for that.
Sure.
But in the middle of the week, prior to our call, days before our call, if I need you to have just an extra set of eyes to say, does this contract, am I missing something in this contract? What about the pricing on this? Does this make sense to you? Does it, here's what the client said, and this was the back and forth that we already had. I just wanted another set of ears to listen to this, to offer some feedback. I think that gray area is sometimes more important than that 1 hour phone call that you would have with an accountability partner or a business coach. Because for me, does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. And I think that the thing that's really nice about it is that you mentioned having that ability to call and say, I want you to take a look at this proposal I'm sending out. Do the numbers sound okay? Is it clear? Knowing the bigger picture of you that comes from having those longer calls, I can then say to you, Michelle, this lines up exactly with what you're talking about in terms of your overall goal. For example, in asking for what you're worth, in setting pricing that you feel like is fair and market value, so that I have a context with you. And then it's so helpful. I absolutely agree, where we've both been able to say, you know what, I'm about to step into this meeting with a new client. I need a little grounding, or I need a little refocus. And I love that. I love being able to have that kind of quick 5-minute as well. Yeah.
I almost, no, I am going to say, I'm going to go out there now and say that to me is the biggest takeaway of our relationship together. Just knowing that you're there, and if I need you in a split second, you've popped out of meetings before with clients to just do a quick text and say, saw it, looks great, call you in 5.
Perfect.
Something like that, right? Just so you know that you're not alone, because this life is a lonely journey for most entrepreneurs.
Of course.
Right? So I think the headline, as we talk about the details of our accountability relationship, is if you are just starting in the entrepreneurial space and you feel like either you're alone or you just aren't sure if you're taking the right steps to move forward, is to voice that concern and to find an accountability partner that can really dive deep into your life with you.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I love that you said headline, because that's part of who you are. And I love how you like to bring things full circle in that way.
Here's the headline. The breaking news is this.
The breaking news is this, is that I agree. When you talked about the number one takeaway, being able to have that sounding board is huge. And I think that echoes exactly that feedback is critical. We need that in our professional lives, and we need to feel that level of support. We need to feel that level of care, and we create our community by having those one-on-one calls. And you can have more than one-on-one, you can have one, which is great. This ended up growing into me expanding. I have now a group of women that I meet with on a monthly basis here, but I also have the wonderful call with you every week. And I found that the strength that I had in building my relationship with you helped me to extend that to something where I'm doing some bigger business and financial planning goals with my group on a monthly basis. So I think that that's, this is a great way for people to get started in the entrepreneurial space, and to continue and let that transform over the life of their business. Because one of the things I love is being able to watch you grow and celebrate the successes that you have, because we've come a long way in 3 years, which is incredible.
Amazing. Yeah.
So MIchelle, just as I feel like we're going to bring things to a close. Tell us how can people get in touch with you? I'm going to share a little bit of information here.
Oh, sure. So my website is MichelleBurdo.com. Actually started Burdo Media Group in 2012, and we started out just doing media training. And now we offer, like I said earlier in the conversation, executive coaching for media opportunities and also for business videos. So we'll do script development and produce the final product. And look, it's a business call right now for you, Kristin.
I know, right? It's like life just keeps flowing.
We're coming up on the 11 o'clock hour.
It's so great.
And then finally, keynote speeches as well. So I write the presentations. I have designers that create the visuals for the presentations. So those are our 3 silos. And thankfully, those 3 silos are a key and a testament to the accountability that you've held me to over the course of the last 3-4 years.
Awesome. And you are actually speaking in March, correct?
Yes, if you guys are in the Orlando area,
yeah.
The National Entrepreneur Center is actually housed in Orlando, Florida. And this program that they're putting on at the end of March is specifically targeted to female professionals, whether you're a part of a corporate lifestyle or an entrepreneurial lifestyle. All of us are going to be gathering. I think it's a room of about 200 like-minded women. I'm speaking at that event about the juggle. And the juggle is real. The phrase, the struggle is real. The juggle is real. And we'll just be talking about some strategies to help all of us move forward together and to see each other, to truly see each other and acknowledge each other in whatever stage we're in, whether we're dealing with older parents that need some additional assistance or infants that are pulling on our time. It's all, like I said, a part of the personal life that morphs into the professional life that leads into the one life that we lead together. And I think as women, we need to acknowledge that and foster that development within each other.
I love how you wrapped that up. It was so MIchelle. It was so it was absolutely perfect. So I think that again, it's the National Entrepreneurial Center.
National Entrepreneur Center, nationalec.org, I believe is their website, and you could purchase tickets there.
Fantastic. MIchelle, I love you so much. I'm so
grateful big hug to you, girl.
So to find out more information, I'm going to put up information on Michelle really quickly right now. MIchelle Burdo at MIchelleBurdo.com. And you can find her on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Twitter under that handle as well, under Michelle Burdo. And I want to thank you all so much for spending time with us today. Michelle, thank you for making the time here. We're so thrilled to have you. And more business tips and tricks to come with KristinSimmons.com. Stay tuned. Bye-bye, everybody.